Hi everyone, I'm back to share a card with you today. If you saw my card on Instagram and you're over here, thank you for coming over and taking a peek. This is a long video when you look at it because there is a process video for how I put the card together in case some of you want to try this. It's real time. I didn't speed it up, so you could actually see me assembling the card. I don't show any of the coloring though, because that would have made the process much longer. So let me share with you what I use. This is Dianna Marcum's new release through AdornIt. So if you were able to get the chocolate chip cookie, which is the first stamp released, I'm holding it, but don't really need to do that. I've already made some cards with this. When you purchase this stamp, it asks you whether you want to pre-order the chocolate chip cookie jar. And it's a recipe stamp, and you might not be able to read the recipe because my stamp is kind of shifted now that I've used it. It has 3 stamps here. Chocolate chip, this big jar with the cookie right in front of it, and those two are one image, and then this little heart here down at the bottom. So you were asked if you wanted to purchase this along with the cookie stamp, and then this would get shipped to you as part of your order. Well, it could come separately because I think these are still in the works. So, chocolate chip cookie jar, okay? In addition to that, there is a subscription, or actually there's additional stamps that you can purchase. This is part of the, I believe, add-on for the subscription for the fruit salad. And I used this stamp here. It says homemade with love. Here is the fruit salad stamp. This is the first stamp in the subscription. So if you sign up for the subscription, this is what you're going to get if you signed up in May or this month, I think. And then if you were to sign up after the fruit salad one goes out, you'll get the next stamp in the order. I believe that's how they're doing it. So it just depends on when you sign up whether or not you'll start with the fruit salad or you'll get the next stamp in the next, how late you sign up on. So I didn't use the fruit salad. I used this one right here, but this goes or accompanies the fruit salad. It's an add-on in the subscription. Okay. I also used this one, and I used the measuring spoons out of this set. She doesn't have names for the set, but it's the one with the apron in it. So if you want to look at it for it that way, this is another stamp you can purchase as well. Because I'm an ambassador, we are getting these products from them. The other thing I used in terms of stamps is this one that's in my stash. It's from Hero Arts. They had a baking theme. They even have dies that came with it. But I don't know what it's called. It's DC 299. It's the month of May 2022. Part of the, not the kit, but the add-ons if you want to buy it. So eat cookies and be happy is what I used. And I did use paper from Doodlebug because it's so cute and it's made with love and it's kitchen themed. Okay, so I used this piece of paper right here. You're going to see it anyway. And I also used this Doodlebug Let It Snow. And it's because I actually picked out a pattern paper, which is this polka dotted one right here. So you'll see that as well. So let me show you my card because I'm really excited. You probably don't need my glare from my light. Let me move that out of the way so it's gone. My desk is kind of a mess. So it is a slider card, guys. Here it is. Here's the cookie jar. So I wanted to do a cookie jar that I knew was basically going to be 2 pieces. See, I had it sitting off to the side, so the jar lid got kind of skewed. But this is what it looks like for the card. And I go through the whole spiel about what I did with the cardstock and everything, so I'm not going to go through that. But the deal is this. This lid comes off, and you get a little sentiment on the inside. And I'm toying with the idea of putting a little stamp here that says pull, just so folks know that whoever gets this card knows that it's a slider. See that? Cute, huh? And I may, no, I don't think I'm going to. I was going to put a stopper maybe, but I'm not going to do that. So it comes out and you can actually see that. And I colored all of these images here. I didn't color really the jar too much, but you'll see that in the video if you continue to watch. So after this portion of the video, there is a how did I do this portion. But I wanted to go ahead and share the card with you. And so I also finished the inside. I didn't stamp the sentiment yet because I don't know who I'm going to be giving it to. So all I did was added some scrap here at the bottom of the same paper. And then on the back, that's where the Homemade with Love from is stamped. And I signed it and dated the year. So that is my chocolate chip recipe stamp card. I am so happy that I was thinking of doing this for the longest time when I found out this was being released. And I thought, oh, that would be cool to be able to do a slider. And so my jar is one of those that opens up. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Hi everyone. I am here to try and film a process video of how I put this card together. So if you stuck with me this long, you probably know that I don't always work everything out beforehand, but I've been thinking about trying to do this for a little while, ever since I found out that this cookie jar was coming out. So here's what I've done ahead of time, and I'm going to have to actually take parts of this and pause the video and go do some just to cut some of the time down with filming. So I have stamped and fussy cut this jar. It's out of some cardstock. I believe this is 100-pound cardstock. I have colored the cookie here, but it's only because I was testing out the colors of the actual marker and just to make sure I wanted to use these colors. So that's the only reason I colored this, so I wouldn't have to waste another sheet of paper. And since I'm going to be covering this up with this layer, it didn't matter. So I have another cookie jar that I have stamped onto some Doodlebug paper, and the paper comes from this collection, the Let It Snow collection. This is a Christmas paper, but the pattern on it is just not necessarily Christmassy. It's just got a lot of polka dots. I wanted a pattern jar. And so I have used my Copic markers to add some shading, color the hearts and the little dots at the top. And so you can see that the cookie here is not colored, and that's because I have fussy cut another cookie that I had stamped out, and I'm going to glue this one right here as part of the process. Okay, so that's going to go there. And then I've also fussy cut and colored up the top of the jar. Now, if I hold it closer, you can see some of the shading I did with my Copics. I didn't do a lot. Let me bring out the Copic colors so that you can see what I used. So I did use this Luminance pencil again. It's a titanium buff. Any white pencil will do if you're going to add some highlights to your things. So I'm just going to pull these out. This is what I used for the cookie jar, and it's really not a whole lot of coloring, but it is a lot of colors. So you can see the browns that I used for the cookie, the blues for the dots on the cookie jar, and the reds for the hearts. The gray is more for shading under the lid, and some areas that I wanted to show as rays, like around the hearts there's some shadowing, and around the bottom of the cookie jar, and around some of the sides. So just know that I used the grays to do that. So that's the Copics I used. But it's not all over coloring because I didn't want to cover up the pattern of the paper. So hopefully I get this right in this recording, because I'm going to have to stop and do some coloring because I want to put a sentiment. So here's my plan. This piece of paper, after all these are going to be glued down. I'm going to take those off so I don't lose them. This piece of paper is going to be glued to this cardstock. And it's just because I want like a sturdier base for it. Okay. And this is going to be popped up, and I'm going to separate the lid from the base of the cookie jar. I'm actually going to cut right across here. And what I'm going to do is I've traced the lid. You see that? I took the this one and I flipped it over. I probably shouldn't have flipped it over, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I flipped it over and I traced it, just the top of the lid. And then I tried to come in some, because what I've done is I've figured out there is a space, right, that I'm going to be adding some foam tape to. And I'm going to create this insert because I'm going to cut this shape out. So I'm going to cut out the lid along with a rectangular shape attached to it out of this piece of paper. And that is going to serve as my slider. So I'm making a slider card that has a removable lid for the jar, and on the inside of the slider I'm going to stamp and color my sentiment. Okay, now it's a little bit extra because I have cut a card base here. This is actually a folded card base. It doesn't have to be that way, but I decided I would do that. And I'm just going to glue this pattern paper down. This, I believe, comes from the Doodlebug Made with Love collection. Is that right? Yeah, the Made with Love collection. Do I have the... I should have used the mixers, the stand mixer. I don't even know if I still have that paper in there. That's such a cute piece of paper. Maybe I'll change it. I don't know. I'm always so back and... Oh, there it is. Should I use that one instead? Let's see. It might be too busy. Yeah, that's too busy. That's why I chose the blue, because it's just a little less extra. Okay, so the plan is to basically cut the jar across the lid, right along that line. Attach the lid to this portion of the slider, and then insert the slider after I've stamped, well, it'll be this way once I've cut it out. Stamp a sentiment and another image here, and then color that up, and then the lid, this front lid, will be attached here, and it will be stuck down inside. Now I am going to put some foam tape so that it stops and the whole slider can't come out, I think. But I definitely have to put it on the outside of these lines on this piece. Okay, so the slider's got to fit inside of those lines, right? It's got to be cut so that it fits within the foam. Okay, and you don't have to join the foam here. You can just, you know, do a little bit down here so it doesn't fall through. Well, it shouldn't fall through, but along the sides is a track to guide the slider in and out. That's all. And you don't want it to stick to the side, so you're going to have to do a little bit of helping it along. So, and I have a trick for that. And I do have my foam tape. This is the skinny 1/8 inch foam tape that I have. So that's my plan, and hopefully that makes sense. And so let me get started. So I can just put this aside for now. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this out with my scissors. I'm going to use my longer scissors to cut the straight sides, and then I'm going to switch to my smaller detailed scissors to cut the lid portion, because the lid itself is probably a little more fussy to cut, and it's harder to cut with these long types of... Well, some people like to do that, but I'm not one of those people. So I'm going to... hopefully this is cut to the right size. I did measure that rectangle out, and the measurements were 55 millimeters wide by 85 millimeters tall. Why did I do that? It's just more accurate for me. So that's why I measured in instead of inches. All right. So now I'm going to switch to my favorite scissors. These are my favorite because, you know, spring-loaded. Actually, let me not do that. So I'm just going to cut across because straight cuts are always much easier to meet that corner there. Don't want to pull it too much. I just want it to fall. And then I'm going to cut the lid. And I know that I traced this, so you know, obviously it was outside of the line when I traced it, right? So you want it to be slightly inside the line that you traced because you want it to be smaller than the lid of the actual pattern paper of the jar. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I'm cutting just slightly on the inside of this line, not right on the line. Otherwise I'll have white peeking out, and I don't want that. Because remember, it's going to be underneath the lid of the jar. I have never been a lover of fussy cutting. But I'll do it if I have to. For whatever reason, there's certain things that will kind of spur me to do things. And this is one of those things, perhaps. Okay, so I know I'm off camera. I'm cutting right just inside of that pencil line. And this is actually the back of the insert or the slider. It's not the front because I traced it backwards when I traced it. Which is going to be inside the card. So I'm not the best at fussy cutting. I'm so picky. Okay, so this is actually the front. All right. And so what you see is this, you know, thick cardstock piece. And we've got basically that. And we also have this. So I don't want, do I want that in there? It'll be, I guess I'll put it in there. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and, do I want to glue that down? Maybe I want to cut this off. I might regret this later on. We're just playing here now. I'm going to cut this piece of the lid off because I don't want 3 layers of the cardstock. I just want the 2 to make this adhere to that. So when you lift the lid, it pulls the slider out. I might regret this later, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're probably thinking, don't do that. We can always start over. I can just stamp this again. It's not a big deal. Okay, so now I have no lid here. And I have this jar right here. So you can see that, right? So basically, is that right? No, it would be this way. See, I told you I don't want to get it backwards. You can see how it lines up, right? So what I would do is I will put some foam tape on the outside of these lines here. And they're just to serve as a track so that when you slide this piece in, the slider goes, you know, goes straight. It doesn't, you know, have problems going in, or, you know, it guides it as a track. That's the only reason I'm going to put that foam tape. And then, so what I need to make sure is this is lined up, because if it's not, then we got a problem. Okay, so I can kind of see, if I hold it close to you, you can kind of see some of the white. So what I'll have to do is I'm going to have to cut this part of the jar off on the pattern paper so I can glue it down to the slider. Okay, that's just a must. So I'm going to do that. You're probably going to be holding your breath, right? I didn't want to attach this stuff yet, because if I screw it up, then I'll have to start again. And I don't want to start all over again. So I'm just going to cut the lid off now. Okay. Now, one of the things that most Copic colorists do is, because this is cardstock, it's got a white core, we will a lot of times darken the edges. And that's what I've already done that on these, most of these, but since I just cut this is a fresh cut, I'm just going to run my marker from the back side across that cut so that I can cover up that white edge. Okay, so that's all I've done there. And I'm going to do it on this one too, because if you look, you can see that white edge, but it's black around this. So I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, so that looks nice and finished. It's just a nitpicking thing. I might have to do it again when I glue this all together. So I've got the lid, right? I've got the lid here. It's gonna go onto this slider piece. But I don't want to glue it down yet, because I want to stamp a sentiment on the inside here, and I'm gonna color something, another image. So let me stop here, because this is going to take me time to color it. I don't want to do it on camera. It'll make the video too long. And I'm going to finish the inside, and then I'll come back and show you the construction of the pieces, okay? All right, I am back. You can see I have colored my image. This is another image that is being released or is available for purchase. This is from the apron set. It's the measuring spoons. You can see it right here. So I just decided I wanted to stamp another image onto the insert here. I haven't glued anything down yet, so here we go. We're going to work this out together. So my plan is, this is going to be glued down to here, and I can already tell that I'm going to have to trim some of this white off, but I think it'll be fine. I think it will be fine. So I don't want to trim it off until I glue the piece down, and I want to also make sure that it's in a good position, obviously, because these two things need to line up, right? If they don't line up, then it's not going to look right. See that? And maybe I did need that extra piece of the lid, because it'll give it some thickness, and maybe that will hold the jar a little bit higher above the lip of the actual jar here. Okay. So I'm glad I didn't throw that piece out. But I do need to take care of the edges here, because I hadn't done that. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay. So I'm going to take my glue, and I'm just using this art glitter glue just because I have a fine tip on it. It's not as fine of a tip as some of my other glues are. It seems to hold up fine. So I'm not going to glob a lot of glue around. I'm just going to do dots, because I just, I don't want that to be all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and match these two up. And kind of hold that a little bit. And then this is going to go down to this piece here. And I can already tell, see, this makes it raised a little bit higher. And then I'll come back with my scissors to chip away at the piece here. Okay, I'm going to hold off doing that first, but I want to, because I want to do this. And I want to get this in the right spot. So before I glue the lid down, I'm going to go ahead and mess around with the jar base. And I'm going to go ahead and glue the pattern cardstock down to this piece of cardstock. towards the edges. I hope I do this correctly. And so now you can see the shadowing because it's not got the lid on it. So I want to line that up as best as I can. Give it a good press. And as I said, I'm not going to put this on yet because if I screw it all up, I have to do it all over again. And I don't want that. Okay. So this is the base, and this is the piece that's going to get the foam tape, right? So the insert is going to go face down like this. So in case you're wondering, we're going to do that. Now, I noticed that I can see through this, so I'm going to actually put a piece of cardstock on the back because I actually picked out a piece and then wasn't sure if I was going to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some cardstock on the back, and I'm just going to, for the sake of doing this on camera, I'm going to glue it down. I might regret this, but I'm going to glue it down, and then I'm just going to cut around it. Okay? I'm turning it because I know that this is the top where there was some gummy stuff from the paper pad. And since I'm just doing this on camera, I don't want that to be a problem. So I'm just going to ignore that. This doesn't have to be perfect, right? So now I just have to cut off this edge because I have a straight edge on the other side. If I can do it correctly. I'm going to put my glue lid back on here because it tends to start drying out. And since these are straight cuts, I'm going to use my long scissors. And I'm actually going to just put my scissors right up to the cardstock and cut it from the front. And so when you're doing long cuts, it's better to use the longer scissors so you can, you know, get a straighter line. Okay? Little tip. If you're doing really small cuts, intricate cuts, you don't want to use the, obviously, some people can. I can't do that. But, okay, so it's going to look like this because we're going to glue the lid on just like that, right? So it looks, you know, looks like the complete jar. See that? Okay, so let's move on to the next step. The next step is actually to glue, not the glue, but there's the lid, to take the foam tape and put it down in here. So what I want to do is make sure that the foam tape is just a guide. Okay, so I drew the lines because I wanted to be able to see where I need to put that foam tape. And you don't have to put a piece of tape all the way to the edge. You just need it so that it basically holds it in. It can't, well, we don't want it falling down in. So this is really just a stop. And you know, I have my doubts about some tapes that are, well, this was free. So, and I don't know like the longevity of the tape. So I'm actually going to add some glue around. Is that weird that I'm gluing my foam tape down? I know in certain climates, you know, heat can have an effect on adhesive. And so if I send this card to somebody who lives in a very hot climate, I don't want it to fall apart on them, you know, if they've got it in their room hanging up on something. That's why I did that. Oops, I just put my finger in the glue. Let me try not to do that and drag my finger across it. So I'm just going to put the tape down, the foam tape, that is. Hopefully I don't screw that up. And then I'm going to get another strip and go along the sides of this. And then I'm going to cut it before I reach the side of the jar. I'm just going to cut it at an angle. So you can go as high up as you want, but There we go. And then I'm going to do it on the other side with my other piece. Woo! I got some glue on the front. I don't like that. Let me take that piece out so it doesn't get messed up. Because I have the lines drawn so that I can see them. And I'm just, again, putting the foam tape on the outside of that penciled line. You're not going to see the penciled line because it's going to face the back of the card, right? So basically you have this, and you have this piece, and if I guide that into the tracks, it'll be right there. Okay? Now, this is the part that, because I have a piece of cardstock and the pattern paper and the insert piece, it is a little bit higher than the bottom jar because it's thicker. It's got 3 pieces instead of 2. So I want to affix the lid in a good spot. So you see how I'm holding it? I'm just trying to figure out if that's the right spot, and I think it is. I'm holding all the pieces together so that the lid is sitting flush against the bottom part of the jar, and it lines up well, and it also lines up with the piece that I cut as the slider. I think I can cut a little bit off this edge, and I'll be fine. So what I should have done is left my glue thing off, but I can do it with one hand. So I'm just going to hold the slider part together to the front, and then I'm going to put my glue in. And I'm not going to go too close to the lid or to the bottom of the jar because I don't want them to get glued together. That would be a disaster. So I'm keeping my glue away from the bottom of the jar because I don't want that to get glue and possibly mess up the alignment. Okay. So now I'm just holding it there a little bit, and then I'm going to pull away the slider. So I can now cut this piece away. This little tiny piece that's kind of nitpicky, but you don't have to do that, but I am going to do it because it's nitpicky, and I gotta have it not show. I'm sorry if I'm not in camera. You guys don't need to really see me cut that little piece, do you? I'm just cutting it back a little bit. Now, if I wanted to be picky, I could use one of my files. You guys remember these? These are precision files from Basic Gray. Basic Gray is no more. This came from Hobby Lobby years ago on clearance. But there's a piece in here that has a straight edge. But these are used for, like, yeah, this is a square one. So because I have a squared off edge, I can actually sand it, right? And it's just basically like a nail file, but these are metal, so they don't wear as much. But you could do that and kind of make it, you know, hidden. Maybe I should do that over here. Kind of take that little piece off. Okay, whatever. Do I like it like this? I think I do. So you're basically looking at, you know, it's sitting in the track like this. I haven't glued it down yet, right? You're not going to see this inside, you know, part because it's going to be glued down to the base. But now you have this to work with. And I could even put a, let me see how this all works together as I put the card together and see if I need to put any foam tape here so that it pops up the lid away from the card. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, and I haven't decided whether this folding piece is really needed because there's a sentiment in there, but I'm going to leave it for now, and then you can write your message on the inside. I can write my message on the inside. So this is an A2 size card front, and this is also A2 size. I didn't want a white border, so I'm just going to glue that down. And of course, my glue is kind of drying out since it's open. Try not to do that. And to line up, because I'm lazy, I like to stand my card up and just line up the cardstock that way. It's a lot easier if you're using a flat edge, right? Okay, so we are good there. Now, here we go. So I have this jar like this, right? So you can see now that the foam tape is touching the paper and the slider is kind of just laying on its own, I can tell that I want to sort of have it popped up a little bit. So I might, very interesting. So I might put a piece of foam on the back here, but what I want to do first is gonna take this off. I'm gonna put this closer to the bottom, the jar itself. I'm gonna put it closer to the bottom of the card. I'm not gonna put it in the center because I don't want it in the center. And I didn't think of a like a sentiment. There's a sentiment on the chocolate chip stamp right here, but if I try and fit that in, let me see if I can do it. I might be able to do that. That's gonna be interesting. I think I can do that. Okay. I didn't think that I could fit that in. So let me try and stamp that onto the base of my card. And I'm going to do that with my Stamparatus, because if I need to ink this up again, I want it in the exact same place as it is, and I don't want to mess up my card. So I'm not going to stick this down yet, because I'm going to use it to line up my stamp. All right, so I'll be right back, and then we'll continue. All right, guys, so before I actually stamp it, I want to show you how I did this. So I have a Stamparatus. I have multiple of these lids. This is from Stampin' Up. You guys might have heard of this already, but this has the actual jar of the stamp. I just took that lid off. I have another lid, and I have got the card in here, the card base. I've got some magnets holding the base down, and then I put my stamp in with the lid here, sitting here. Before I stamp it, I'm going to take the lid piece off so it doesn't get ink on it. And this was just for me to see the placement, right? So I'm actually going to take out this piece because it's not adhered down yet. So now my stamp lifts up. I'm going to take that out. This should be in the exact same place that it was just in because the magnets are holding it down. And then I'm going to, if you guys don't know this trick, when you're stamping and you have a new stamp, especially with these photopolymers, run your finger or run the stamp along your skin. Make sure there's no lint picked up by the stamp, okay? I'm doing this because I'm conditioning the stamp. Sometimes ink will not stick to your new photopolymer stamps. So to help it along, the oils from your fingers can transfer to the stamp, and you're also rubbing off some of that production manufacturing coating that is used to make the stamp. So I'm just doing this to help the ink adhere to the stamp, so that when I go to stamp it down, it will stamp well. And because I'm using the Stamparatus, I'll be able to ink this up multiple times if I want it to look darker. So I'm just inking it off to the side here on the lid. You'll see it. Let me do it again. Try not... The last thing I want to do is drop my ink pad on my card. So I'm just using my fingers to press it. You can use one of those little doohickeys. I forget what they call them. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Instead of using your heel of your hand. But this stamp is not that big, so I'm going to do that. So it's not dark enough for me. I'm going to do it again. And I can do this as many times as I want till it reaches the darkness that I want. One more time. That's it. Okay, so I'm just going to put a lid on my ink. And in case you guys don't already know, I use this ink. This is blackout detail ink. It's waterproof, so you can use it for watercoloring. And it is Copic friendly, or alcohol marker friendly. So that's the reason why I use this, because sometimes I don't know what I'm going to use as my coloring medium, and then I don't have to decide right then. There we go. So now I can just take this lid off. I'm actually going to put this over to the side because I don't need this anymore, and take my card up. Put this somewhere else. And now I've got the word chocolate chip across the top. Let me hope my fingers don't get all muddied up. Okay, so here's the thing. You see the lid? You can see the white cardstock around the edge. I'm not going to, I don't know if I'm going to ink that up anymore. I'm good with it, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so I think I'm ready to adhere the base of the cookie down. Okay, so cookie jar, I'm sorry. So this is how it's going to look. And I don't want the heart to hide the word chocolate chip or chocolate. So hopefully I had it centered well enough. I'm going to peel off the strips of, let me zoom out because you can't see the whole card. I'm going to peel off the strips from the foam tape, and you don't want your chocolate chip cookie hanging over the bottom. So it is going to be a little bit right there at that edge. Right there. Because I don't want that hanging off the edge of my card. Okay. So I'm going to peel off the foam tape. And then I'm going to add some glue. Because, you know, gotta have the glue. Where's my glue? So it doesn't fall apart later on. And I'm just going to dot some along this. Now, to help that little insert glide easier along the foam tape, I'm going to actually use my anti-static tool, which is used for embossing. Little bag that has, I believe it's cornstarch. Let me see if I can get it out. So this little bag, I'm just going to run it along the edges or kind of tap it a little bit. I probably should have done it to the cardstock that is the insert. I'm going to do that too. Why not? Can't hurt it. So hopefully this will help it prevent from sticking to any of the foam tape on the sides. And then I'm going to stick it down. Okay. Here is the moment of truth. Do not mess this part up. Maybe I should hold this. I'm just putting the two pieces together without trying to get glue on it. So I'm holding this together, the insert to the jar base. Make sure you've got it in there the way where you want it, where it should be, so it looks flush, which it does. And then we're going to stick it down. And the reason I'm holding it from the top is because there's no foam tape at the top right now. And I want to place this down. I'm going to have to get up. I probably should be standing, but I'm going to place this down in the center, horizontally on the card, and making sure that the chocolate chip is not hanging off the edge towards the bottom. I think I got it in a good spot, because once it goes down, the tape is going to stick. Okay, so now the foam tape is popping up the jar and the little insert is in there. Okay, and I can decide how I want to keep this away from the backer. So I think what I'm going to do is run a little piece of tape, foam tape, across this little piece right here. So I do have some more foam tape. Okay. And I'm just going to use the scissors to figure out. I'm not going to go all the way across. It's kind of pointless to do that since it's just as a gap, stop gap. I am going to, and I'm not actually going to remove that other piece, the piece of paper that's, you know, obviously it's taped down. Well, not taped down, but it's covering the adhesive part of the foam tape. I'm not going to take that off because I don't want it stuck down. I just want it to act as a lift. Is this the proper way to do it? I don't know. But that's what I'm doing. Okay. So now I have this little piece of foam. I hope you can see it. It's white too. That forces the little insert to stay away from the base of the card. So when you slide it down in here, it kind of makes it pop up. Wonderful! Okay, so now I have to find my cookie and my heart. Here we go. And I can glue those down now. See, I didn't want to do all that and have it get all screwed up. So I'm going to glue my little heart here and my cookie. Can you see that? This is going to be a long video. Sorry, guys. If you stuck with me this long, you see how I did it. Okay, heart. And I'm toying with the idea of putting some glossy accents on this, but let me pull this out so I can stick it real good with my fingers. See, I'm afraid that my inky fingers are going to get like smudge on this, and then I'll have to start over again, or, you know, do something else again. And I don't want to do that, so. Yay! I can't believe it worked out. Listen to me. Okay, so there's the cookie on top of the jar. There's my card. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. I know this was a long one. You stuck it with me. I'll finish the inside of the card as well as the handmade by, and you'll see that at the beginning of the video. So if you are interested, if you wanted to watch, you know, just that portion, you'll get it up front. Okay, and now I see something that's bugging me. Okay, gonna have to cut some of that off. Anyway, there it is. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.